next season and make sure they're making the right, proper calls. Man, at this point, we need NBA refs all the time, bro.
The floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time.
And she calls out the officiating. She calls out the refereeing. She calls out the WNBA. The lot.
You come in and see something looking really wrong, you're going to call it out. It is what it is.
The whistle blew, but not for the foul everyone just saw. Caitlin Clark had just taken a hard hit to the face, right in front of the officials, and nothing happened. No call, no warning, just play on. The crowd erupted. The commentators froze, and in that moment, it became crystal clear this wasn't just bad officiating. This felt like sabotage. The WNBA's fastest rising star was getting leveled on the court and ignored like she didn't exist. Every drive turned into a wrestling match. Every possession, a setup, and the refs, they looked the other way.
2 foul calls, the clear biases when it comes to not calling foul calls.
Wait, hold up, wait. You be pushing refs, Angel?
I ain't never pushed them, but I've gotten in their face.
World was watching how bad the calls was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against
sidedness that is being shown not in favor of the Indiana Fever.
Again and again and again. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't random. It looked personal, and fans could feel it. Coaches lost their minds. Twitter exploded. Slow-mo replays started circulating like wildfire, and suddenly, everyone was asking the same question, even if no one wanted to say it out loud. Is the WNBA protecting its future or punishing it? Because from what we just witnessed, it's starting to look like the league's brightest light is being dimmed, not by opponents, but by the very system that's supposed to have her back.
There was a wind-up, and it was to the face. The 3 of them, that is a flagrant 2.
Started. You remember the lopsided officiating that we got last year? The All-Star break comes around, the Olympic break rolls around, and then what did we hear from Lynn Dunn? Lynn Dunn goes on the Dan Dockage show.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care.
Honestly, gives us so much insight into the WNBA referees, how they are hired, how much they make. And
today, the referees gave the report on the situation, and it's even worse. It's even worse than I imagined, and it was pretty grim.
In this game, this was the final straw. From the opening tip, something felt off. The energy was high, the crowd was electric, and all eyes were on Caitlin Clark. But the officials had other plans. Within minutes, the calls, or lack of them, started piling up. Clark was being bumped, slapped, shoved off her rhythm. Obvious fouls went uncalled, while soft touches sent her to the bench. It wasn't just one missed whistle. It was a pattern, a message. And the message was loud. You're not getting protection tonight. By the second quarter, it was undeniable. A hard drive to the basket left Clark on the floor, clutching her face after a blatant hit, and still no whistle. Meanwhile, her opponents were being rewarded for far less contact. The crowd roared in disbelief. Her coach erupted on the sidelines.
Physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to.
Because as of right now, they're costing the Indiana Fever major games that they definitely need to win.
NBA refs are the worst. They really are the worst.
About that as well, because there were some suspect calls at the end of that game.
And yet, the game continued as if nothing had happened. It felt surreal, almost scripted, the kind of officiating that doesn't just ruin a game. It exposes something deeper. But the refs weren't done. As the game wore on, the double standard became more aggressive. Every time Clark tried to build momentum, a phantom foul or technical would cut her down. Every time the Fever inched closer, the whistle would swing against them. It was as if the officials were playing defense themselves, guiding the game from the scores table instead of letting the athletes decide it. By the final buzzer, fans weren't just upset, they were furious. Clips flooded social media. Slow motion breakdowns, dissecting every missed call, every unpunished hit. People weren't asking whether the referees were bad, they were asking whether they were biased, whether someone, somewhere, had decided Caitlin Clark was simply too big to let shine freely. And if that sounds like a stretch, just wait until you see how she's been treated all season long.
Taken 4 games for Stephanie White to say, you know what? I've had absolute enough. Game 1, okay.
Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA, she reignited it. Her arrival brought in millions of new fans, boosted ticket sales, broke viewership records, and filled arenas that once echoed with empty seats. She was exactly what the league needed, a generational talent with charisma, fire, and a highlight reel that never stopped rolling. But somehow, instead of being celebrated, she's being targeted. Game after game, the treatment Clark receives from officials has gone from questionable to outrageous. She gets picked up full court like she's LeBron in Game 7, blitzed on screens, hacked on drives, and shoved off the ball, with barely a whistle in sight. Meanwhile, the slightest retaliation or frustrated reaction from her draws an immediate foul or technical. It's not just inconsistent, it's lopsided, and it's turning into a psychological war every time she steps on the court. What's worse is the body language. The referees don't just miss calls, they look uninterested, even dismissive, when Clark reacts to the contact. It's as if her status as a rising star has made her a target instead of a priority. Fans have noticed, commentators have pointed it out, coaches have spoken up, but nothing changes. She's not asking for special treatment, she's asking for fair treatment. But with every game, it becomes more clear. Caitlin Clark isn't just playing against opponents in jerseys, she's battling the invisible resistance coming from the very people meant to keep the game honest. And this isn't isolated. This bias didn't appear overnight, because when you start looking back at past games, past seasons, and past reactions, the pattern becomes impossible to deny. This isn't the first time Caitlin Clark has been left on the floor without a whistle, and sadly, it probably won't be the last. Because the further you look back, the more you realize this isn't about one game, one referee, or one mistake. It's a disturbing trend that's been growing louder with every tip-off. Last season, before Clark even entered the league, Indiana Fever players were already calling out lopsided officiating. Coach Stephanie White watched in frustration as her team consistently landed on the wrong side of the whistle. Free throw discrepancies, missed calls, questionable ejections. By mid-season, it was clear the Fever weren't just playing other teams, they were playing against the refs too. But when Clark arrived, the problem exploded. Suddenly, the stakes were higher. More eyes were watching. Every blown call was caught on camera, replayed in slow motion, and turned into viral clips dissected by analysts and outraged fans alike. And yet, despite the growing spotlight, the officiating somehow got worse. Referees seemed more rigid, more erratic, almost defensive. Whether it was phantom calls against Clark or flat-out refusals to acknowledge blatant contact against her, the message was clear. They weren't backing down, and with each ignored foul, each technical handed out for nothing more than emotion, the bias became less of a suspicion and more of a reality. Now it's no longer a debate among fans, it's a conversation inside the league. Behind the scenes, coaches are whispering, players are frustrated, and executives, they're staying quiet. But one person refused to stay silent, and when Coach Stephanie White finally snapped, the entire league heard it. Stephanie White didn't explode right away. Like any seasoned coach, she tried to stay composed, to trust the system, to believe that the next call would be fair. But that belief slowly eroded, possession by possession, until it shattered in front of a live audience. It wasn't just frustration, it was disbelief. You could see it in her pacing, in the way her voice cracked mid-yell, in the way her face turned red as another obvious foul on Caitlin Clark was swallowed by silence. She wasn't just coaching anymore, she was surviving a psychological minefield. Every time she looked down the sideline for an explanation, the officials turned away. Every time she fought for her star player's safety, the response was either indifference or a technical. The game wasn't just unfair, it was disrespectful, and Coach White wasn't having it. By the fourth game of the season, she'd had enough. The Fever were being outshot at the free throw line by more than 30 attempts. Calls that should have protected her players were turning into momentum killers. The referees weren't just missing calls, they were shaping outcomes. That night, Coach White's outburst wasn't just anger. It was a declaration. We see what you're doing, and we're done staying quiet. Fans cheered, analysts backed her, and in that moment, White wasn't just a coach, she became a symbol of resistance. A voice for every player who's been ignored, every fan who's been gaslit, and every team that's been told to just play through it. But what she said out loud, and what the league ignored, pointed to something far more troubling. Because behind the chaos on the court is a system that's broken by design. It's easy to blame the refs. They're the ones on the court, the ones blowing the whistle, the ones missing the calls. But if you zoom out just a little, the real issue isn't just who's making the calls, it's how they got there in the first place. An investigative piece published by SB Nation earlier this year pulled back the curtain on how WNBA referees are scouted, trained, and held accountable. Spoiler alert, the process is flawed from top to bottom. Most refs come from lower-tier leagues, often juggling other jobs, with limited opportunities for advancement or proper evaluation. There's no rigorous replay center like the NBA, no transparency in discipline, and no consistent standard of performance. It's a free-for-all, dressed up in a rule book no one seems to follow. Referees are supposed to be neutral, invisible, protectors of the game's integrity, but in the WNBA, they've become unpredictable variables. Refs who insert themselves into the spotlight, influence momentum, and swing entire games with a single whistle or the refusal to use one. When you combine that with a league exploding in visibility, thanks to players like Caitlin Clark, it becomes a perfect storm. Undertrained refs, overwhelmed by the moment, reacting emotionally instead of professionally. And here's the kicker. The league knew this was coming. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert promised improvements in officiating heading into the season. She spoke about increased oversight, expanded training, and improved accountability. But when the lights came on, the product was the same, if not worse. Fans didn't get better officiating, they got worse excuses. And players like Caitlin, they got the short end of the whistle. Every time, this isn't just a personnel problem, it's systemic. And when a system this broken meets a star this big, chaos isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And if you think the referees are bad, wait until you meet the person who's supposed to be holding them accountable. While chaos erupts on the court, and fans cry foul from the stands, one person remains eerily silent. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, the woman entrusted with protecting the league's integrity, has vanished when it matters most. No press conferences, no statements, no accountability, just silence. The kind that echoes louder with every missed call and every viral clip of Caitlin Clark hitting the hardwood with no justice in sight. This isn't just bad optics, it's a crisis of leadership. As referees spiral and coaches publicly melt down, the person with the power to fix the system has chosen invisibility. Engelbert hasn't defended Clark. She hasn't addressed the officiating controversy. She hasn't reassured fans, players, or even sponsors. Instead, it feels like she's waiting it out, hoping the storm will pass, as if silence is a strategy. But silence speaks volumes. It tells players they're on their own, it tells fans their frustration doesn't matter, it tells the refs they can keep freelancing with no consequences. And most damning of all, it tells Caitlin Clark, the very player revitalizing the league's relevance, that she's disposable. The longer Engelbert stays quiet, the more fans begin to wonder if she's in over her head, whether the leadership vacuum at the top is fueling the dysfunction at every level. And it's not just a theory, it's a feeling that's creeping into every arena, every locker room, every replay. Because when the calls keep going unanswered, both on the court and in the commissioner's office, the game starts to feel rigged. And if the referees are chaos agents with whistles, what do you call the person letting it all happen? At this point, it's hard to tell if the referees are enforcing rules or rewriting them mid-game. The missed calls aren't just frequent, they're theatrical. 1 minute, Caitlin Clark is charging down the lane, absorbing contact that would get anyone else 2 free throws. The next, she's hit with a technical for showing emotion. The refs aren't just letting chaos happen, they're orchestrating it. And fans are seeing through it. It's not subtle. From phantom fouls to blatant no calls on plays that land Clark flat on the floor, the officiating has started to feel like performance art. At times, it's so cartoonishly inconsistent, it borders on parody, as if the refs were pulling violations out of a bingo machine labeled "make it up as you go." Take the J.C. Sheldon foul, for example. A wind-up, a hit to the face, clear intent, and yet it was only ruled a flagrant one, not a flagrant 2. The league's explanation? Vague, their logic? Non-existent. And when you compare that to the ticky-tack calls being handed to Clark just for existing on the court, the contrast becomes huge. It's not just that the calls are bad, it's that they feel deliberate, targeted. Like there's an invisible set of rules specifically designed to keep Caitlyn from ever getting comfortable. One bad call can change momentum. 5 bad calls can change a game. But when it happens over and over again, it changes a career. It changes the league. And the scariest part, it's happening on national TV in front of millions. And the referees don't even flinch. That kind of confidence only comes from knowing no one is going to stop you. But if the refs have gone rogue, then the internet is the new referee now. And fans aren't just watching, they're documenting everything. In the past, a blown call might have sparked a few boos and been forgotten by morning. Not anymore. This is the era of receipts, and the WNBA is drowning in them. Every bad whistle, every ignored foul, every slow-motion elbow to Caitlyn Clark's face is captured, clipped, and uploaded in seconds. And the internet, it's not forgiving. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, the clips spread like wildfire. Fans are zooming in, slowing down footage frame by frame, syncing angles, and exposing everything the officials refuse to acknowledge. Commentators are chiming in. Former players are weighing in. Even casual viewers are asking how this level of bias can play out so boldly, without consequences. And it's not just about the missed calls anymore, it's about the patterns, the data, the mounting evidence that Clark is being officiated by a different standard. Social media has become a courtroom, and the referees are on trial every night. And the verdict? Guilty of turning the game into a joke. What was once a passionate fan base is now an investigative army, and with every clip that goes viral, every highlight that turns into a horror show, the WNBA's credibility takes another hit, because when the fans become the officials, the league has already lost control. But while social media keeps the receipts, Caitlyn Clark keeps getting up, over and over again. And that's where the real weight of this season starts to show. Caitlyn Clark isn't just playing basketball, she's carrying a league on her back. Every night, she steps onto the court knowing the cameras are fixed on her, the fans are counting on her, and the refs are waiting to knock her off balance. And still, she shows up. Still, she fights. But the toll is starting to show. She doesn't look exhausted from the minutes. She looks exhausted from the mental warfare. This isn't about running up and down the floor. It's about being hit, ignored, disrespected, and then expected to smile for the cameras. Clark could drop 30 points and still get attacked for blinking too hard. She could make a game-saving steal and still get flagged for excessive emotion. Her reality isn't just unfair, it's suffocating. The weight she's carrying goes beyond points and assists. She's holding up a franchise, a fan base, half of women's basketball's future. And every time she builds momentum, the refs seem to step in and pull the rug out from under her. It's not just about rules anymore. It's about restraint. How much can one player take before something breaks? And through it all, she remains composed. No tantrums, no press blow-ups. Just the same focus, the same grit, the same fire. But how long can she keep that up when it feels like she's playing a rigged game? Because while fans rally and cameras roll, the people in charge still pretend everything's fine. But the cracks in the foundation are impossible to ignore, and the entire league is starting to feel it. The WNBA is at a tipping point. On one side, it has momentum like never before. Rising viewership, sold-out arenas, fresh faces leading a new era. On the other, it has a storm brewing. Angry fans, controversial officiating, and a growing perception that the league can't handle its own success. And at the heart of it all is Caitlyn Clark, a once-in-a-generation talent being mishandled in plain sight. This league wanted visibility. It got it. It wanted star power. It got that too. But what it wasn't prepared for was accountability. Because with attention comes scrutiny. And now every decision, every missed call, every sideline meltdown is being watched by millions. There's no more room to hide. The refereeing isn't just hurting one player, it's damaging the credibility of the entire league. What happens next matters. If the WNBA continues to let its biggest draw be targeted without protection, the consequences will echo far beyond one season. Players will grow frustrated, fans will turn cynical, sponsors will hesitate, and the momentum the league worked so hard to build could evaporate just as quickly. Caitlyn Clark has done her job. She's drawn in the world. She's changed the narrative, but now the question is, will the league do its part, or will it squander the opportunity by letting silence and bias define the story? Because the next move isn't about a player, it's about the future of women's basketball. And right now, it's hanging by a whistle. What we're witnessing isn't just about bad officiating or missed calls, it's about trust. Trust in the game, trust in fairness, trust that when greatness shows up, the system will protect it, not punish it. And right now, that trust is broken. Caitlin Clark isn't asking for special treatment. She's asking for the same rules to apply to everyone. But game after game, foul after foul, the message being sent is loud and clear. Her presence threatens the status quo. And instead of rising to meet the moment, the league is shrinking from it. The WNBA has a choice. Protect its players, fix its broken systems. Speak up, or keep letting silence speak for them, while fans, players, and the sport itself suffer the consequences. Because people are watching, and not just casually. They're recording, analyzing, holding receipts. This isn't 1998. This is now, and now demands change. So here's the question for the league. Are you going to lead, or let it all collapse under the weight of your own silence? If you're as fired up as we are, drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you seen bias this blatant before? Do you think Caitlin Clark is being targeted? Let us know below. And if you believe in holding the game accountable, like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because this story, it's far from over.